guys, it's John McNamara, host, right in Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. If you guys like what we see today, subscribe, follow us on Right in Vegas podcast. Today, we got a special guest. Mark Dabu, co-founder, Eon Collective Agency, video strategist in the house.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was really cool to see this in person. Before I came on here, I like to see how the podcast goes, and that intro right there, solid.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to get a little hypey before, get the energy up. So I appreciate any feedback for this pod. We can use all the feedback we can get. So
yeah, no, for sure.
Cool, man. So let's hear more about you, where you're from, what's your story?
Yeah, so Mark Dabu, born and raised here in Las Vegas. Basically, just decided to live here because I don't know. I never really had the itch to kind of leave. Vegas was always home to me. Grew up on the east side of Las Vegas. Went to school at El Dorado, shout out, and then graduated at Sierra Vista. And then just kind of, just lived here my whole life and kind of got into video. Vaguely in high school, middle school, just back when handy cams were a thing, and you would just borrow your parents' camcorder. So that's what I would do, and just kind of shoot videos with my friends just for fun. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
How did you kind of break into the next level with being a videographer and
so I'd say after high school, this was back before video was very common to where it is now, right? So it really did click my mind that I can shoot video for a living, right? So I just did different odd jobs here and there, just trying to figure out my place. And it wasn't until I met up with an old friend of mine that had moved out, and we were having lunch together, and I kind of asked him what is he up to now? What does he do? And he said he shoots video. And I was like, no, what do you do for work? What's your job, And he said video. I was like, really? What do you mean video? And so I kind of looked into it and, saw that you can actually make a living off of video. So that's kind of piqued my interest because that was a thing that I would do just for fun, in high school, just with friends and stuff. So when I found out that you can actually shoot video, edit video as a career, I was all in, and I'd say that happened about 7 years ago. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm not good with math right now, 2017-ish, that time frame. So
awesome. So you've been doing this for a while now. So what have kind of been the big lessons you've learned and the big growth moments, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Rick over here. I feel like I just started getting into it, but in the meantime that I've been learning, I guess the biggest lesson that I've learned is just always try to learn something new, because technology, strategies, trends, they're always evolving, right? And the stuff that you feel like you are competent now might not matter next year, maybe next month. So it's just, I think, just always keeping on trends with things and just staying up to date with how technology is going, how, people are receiving the material that you're putting out there is super important. Yeah.
Awesome. What's the new technologies that have been coming out? Because I know AI is a big part of that. So tell me more.
Yeah. No. This AI is a thing, and as hard it is for me to accept it, because I'm old. I like to do things hands-on. I realize AI is very important, and it's very helpful. It saves a lot of time. We actually use AI with Virtue. I know we'll get to that later, but it could definitely streamline a lot of the mundane tasks that we have as an editor. So whether it's just selecting short clips that we can use from a long form video, or just extracting different parts of like I said, like a long form video into little bite-sized clips is one way that you can kind of use AI to help streamline your stuff.
Yeah, we do it for our short clips too, but I realize it's kind of interesting because you still need to, I know for ourselves, it's take the time to customize it.
Oh yeah.
Because it seems because they always give you 5, and I'm always, they're always the worst of the
I'm
like, how did they come up with these 5? Once in a while they hit it, but
exactly, it's a gamble. It's always you give them one long form video and it'll spell 40 clips, and out of those 40, you probably could use 2 or 3. You still have to kind of refine it from there. So I think it's a good way to use AI to kind of get the ball rolling,
Yeah.
but that's where your expertise comes in to kind of like figure out the adjustments and really like dial in what you want out of it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So what does like your creative process look like? Because I know like everybody kind of has their own style. Like, what would separate you, Mark, from another video strategist out there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think what I really pride myself on is just making people feel comfortable on camera. Because I know for myself, I understand it's very stressful to be in front of the camera. You know, a lot of people, it's their first time having all the lights, everyone just looking at you, especially as an introvert myself, like I could relate, right? So how do I bring them out of their, comfort zone and really get, the nuggets from their talking points? And I think that's where you can really separate yourself from a human being, like the actual storytelling from an AI generated prompt.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like I can really like separate myself. And to get to that point, I do like to do some research about whoever I'm interviewing, or whoever's going to be on a camera, whether it's like a person, a business, or let's say a listing video. I would look up the actual property online and just kind of get a feel about what the house looks like. Is it more traditional, a little more modern, and just kind of tailor the edit to that. So
okay.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how you and I got connected, because you came up, introduced yourself, you actually did a little research on running Vegas, so right away I felt connected because you were very friendly, very easy to talk to, and I know myself, like, connection is huge, because you're right, like there is AI coming, and talk about this all the time, but still it's that human connection that makes a really big difference,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like with AI, like, I think another way to really use it to your advantage is, everyone's kind of gravitating towards AI. So that's a perfect opportunity to really showcase yourself as a human, because that's what people are going to be craving, right?
Yeah.
Authenticity. And I think that was like the most authentic word, or the most Google search word in the dictionary, or something along those lines of 2024. And I feel like with AI being so prominent, people really crave that authenticity. So that's one way you can really separate yourself, is just like being human, So that's how you can kind of utilize AI to your advantage, just kind of like use it for yourself, but also like just remember that you have knowledge too. You don't always have to, rely or maybe crutch on technology like that.
Yeah.
So
you're right too, because I feel like the people that like go trending or like super popular in social media videos, they tend to be authentic, which is, to me, is always sometimes hard to do, because I'm like a natural kind of like people pleaser. And introverted as well, like doing the pod is get me out of the, my box as well. So it's interesting, because I went to a real estate seminar and they were talking about, I'm kind of getting a little like voodoo here, but
no,
like,
I love it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So they're talking about like spirituality, and there's like levels of, and they rate it on a scale. Like love is like 700-point scale, but the biggest thing I got out of that is 800, which was higher, was being authentic.
Oh, there you go.
So which is more powerful than love. So I was like,
that's
crazy, right?
Yeah.
But you'll see on social media too, like there's some people that are kind of like, to me, a little bit jerks, but they're authentic and they go off because they're being themselves.
Exactly.
You know, and people can relate to it.
Yep, 100%. And I think that's what exactly, it separates yourself, because no one can replicate that, If you really, are true to who you are, like I think when you go on a podcast, that's where you have to be authentic, People are going to see through the cracks if you are putting up a front, but I feel like with authenticity, it's just something you can't duplicate, and it really makes you like unique to yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about the pod too, is because you get to have like these. I'm very like more one-on-one person and get to know somebody, so it's kind of cool to hear everybody's stories, and to me, there's like a different connection to a person and get to understand them better too. So.
I love that. But
So do you have any like funny stories or stories you can share of like some shoots you've been on, something crazy that may happen?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that question with like a real estate mindset at first, because I'm working with Virtue and it's real estate. But honestly, with real estate, nothing too. I wish I had something crazy to where like I had to kick a squatter out, or police called the cops on me because they didn't know I was like in the house, but nothing crazy like that.
Okay.
So I did have a shoot that was pretty interesting. Was I was working with a production company here in town in Vegas. They're pretty big, but they had a client to where this was back when NFTs was like super popular.
Okay.
Right? And it was this group of kids. I'm gonna say kids like maybe mid-20s, whatever.
Yeah.
They had this idea to shoot NFTs of a blown up Lamborghini. So the whole concept was they would blow up this Lamborghini in the desert, collect all the parts of the Lamborghini, and then auction off the NFT from those parts. So what we would do is grab those pieces and put it on it's called a Lazy Susan, where it'll just spin like this.
Yeah.
And just film it. And that was the NFT.
Oh.
And so there would be like engines, like car parts, lights, everything from that Lamborghini piece was to be made into an NFT for them to auction.
Oh wow, that's neat. That's really cool.
And from that idea, they got that because before they did the Lamborghini, they did a toilet.
Oh.
They blew up a toilet.
Hopefully nothing was in it.
Nothing was, yeah. Thankfully not. But apparently it made them some, it was very profitable for them. So
cool.
They decided, hey, if we could do a toilet, let's do a Lamborghini, how much more. So I'd say that's probably like the craziest shoot I've like been a part of.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice out there? Because I know you work with like a lot of agents and like, because now like when I got into real estate 20 years, the big thing was prospect and make calls. And now I do videos on my phone all the time. And I send it to folks. And I do the pod and stuff like that. Yeah. But big thing now is, as you were talking about prior, is video. So is there somebody who's trying to break in the industry? They see a lot of value in video. Like any recommendations on how to get started or what you would focus on in the beginning?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I actually have it on my phone. It's because I understand the power of video and I need to do it, practice what I preach, right? When I tell the agents to get on video.
Yeah.
So there's like a message I have on here. It's just basically talk about beliefs, principles, lessons, frameworks, and experience. Okay. And then at the bottom it says make content only you can make. So I think
that's good.
I think only to relieve the pressure of like, okay, trying to, be this character, if you will, on camera, is just to really just kind of extract what goes onto your in your mind when you're at these like open houses or if you're on a call or just like really make content that only you can like talk about, I guess. Yeah. So that way it takes the pressure off of trying to come up with something that you may not know too much about or stuff like that.
Makes sense. Yeah, sometimes I have like an alter ego on like the show. Like I kind of get into like the run of it, and then I'm crazy for the whole show. Yeah. I've kind of wind down a little bit now after doing 1.5 years, but like I think for the beginning that was kind of a little bit easier to wrap my mind because I kept doing these shows all the time, or just being on video and showing a house or something and having fun with it versus
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's good that you do that because it builds that repetition to, the run of it, like that whole. It really does work, Yeah. It gets into your mind, so it's like how do you implement that while also being true to yourself? Yeah. And there's a lot of different ways that you can make your own, tagline or whatever it is to where you can like pop a video up on Instagram or something, and be like, oh, this is a so-and-so video. This is from John, And the good thing is you don't have to be anyone else, to do that. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So you have partnered with Virtue Real Estate Group, and that's how we know each other.
Yep.
So I know Darren's very big on your services, and growing the brokerage. So if you could talk a little bit more about if you're an agent at Virtue, the services that you provide, and your values, so they can take advantage of us, in the future, because you're really, you're really great at what you do.
Yeah, thank you. No, so basically, what I came to Virtue to help out with is the video side. We understood. I mean, everyone knows that video is just very like it's not like a luxury anymore. It's almost like a necessity now.
Yeah.
So where I come into play is kind of help fill that that video void because. A lot of agents we're finding out now is like paper marketing and brochure marketing is still there, it's still good, but a lot of them are looking for video work. And where I come into play is kind of help figure out what kind of video is like needed for that specific agent, because a listing video is not going to work for everybody, right? It's a just sale's not going to work. Maybe you don't have a listing yet. Maybe you still work on your first deal. So like, how would a listing video work for you, right? And I think where I come into play is kind of just helping figure out what kind of video that we can create for you that will be like, one, good for your brand, and two, everlasting, like evergreen, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the strategies that I'm thinking about is just like really focusing on the storytelling side.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that really is evergreen, you know. Whether that's talking about a just sold that you had, instead of focusing on the house itself, let's talk about how did that deal come together, you know, from start to finish, because I think that's what people can really connect to, and that's what you engage with, right? When someone's like telling a story from beginning to end, and next thing you know, like they feel connected with that person, which is what you want with video, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like the house, I love shooting the houses. They're cool. It brings interest, right? It's like, oh, it's like, oh, this is a nice property, nice video, whatever. It's very cool. But I think where people, like I said, connect with is the actual agent or the story that they tell.
I agree. Yeah, I've noticed, not that I'm some like big trending social media guy, but I noticed like with my own videos though, because I've tried like everything now, and like the cool, awesome video of the house, like that's typically like the lowest like rated in terms of views, shares, like everybody's doing it, and versus like you and I will collaborate on Instagram with a reel, they'll probably at least, you know, that will have more engagement, 10 times that.
10 times that.
And I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
So
with not as much effort.
With not as much effort, right? And not as much money too.
Not as much money. Yeah. And
so
I think that's where they can really take advantage of that, you know. They don't need me there filming, you know, at all times, because but where I can like find value into them is giving them like ideas, right? Yeah. And a lot of the ideas that I give them can be filmed on their phone. And I think the main thing is just doing it.
Yes.
You know, because it's simple, but it's not easy. Yeah. Right? Filming your phone, doing like this, very, very simple to do, but just the act of taking your phone out, thinking about what to say, it is a process. You know, you have to really think. You know, you want to see how you look on camera. You want to make sure you communicate clearly. There's a lot of things that's, you know, like I said, it's not easy, but it's really as simple as just, like here, I'm at this open house. Today, it's, you know, super hot outside, but we have, you know, we had 2 people come in. One of them might be a lead. We'll see. We'll follow up, and you know, let's keep up, you know, kind of like follow that journey. Like, what does that look like as an agent? You know, and just doing that right there just shows the personality of that person. You know, the agent that's doing that. So
I agree with that, because I started doing that too, and my engagement went like through the roof. And if you go live too, it like quadruple. Like it's crazy when you go live as well. But yeah, it's just a simple video, or like I'll tell like a lot of our team agents, it's like send a video text. You know, if you can't get somebody, send a video text. And then people will be like, I've never received that before, or something that's different, that stands out. You might get spam once in a while, but you know.
Which is
but
crazy.
That's part of prospecting.
You got to do it, you know.
But it's a lot harder. When I got in the business 20 years ago, people picked up their phones, and now it's probably people pick up their phones about half as, you know, as much as they do now. So and texts are just, I don't know about you, but I get at least 100 texts a day. So I don't remember. I'll text my best friend something, and I won't remember 5 minutes later did I text them or not? So that video is big, because you'll remember that.
Exactly.
Or if you can't get on the phone conversation, you'll remember conversations. But you got to figure out different ways to connect.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think remembering is the biggest part. Because people forget details, but they remember how you made them feel, right? And so when they click on that video, it's just going to be a lot easier to like be remembered, you know, like whether it was like your crazy hair that you had, or I don't know, whatever it is about that video.
You're talking about my hair.
I'm talking about like in general, you know.
I get a lot of comments on that.
That's some good hair right there, man. That's that look.
Is that sarcasm or? It's all good.
No, it's because I woke up today and I was talking to my girlfriend about this, like about doing this, and she's like, "Oh, you should go in like that." I was like what? And I go in the mirror and I'm looking. Hair's all crazy. Like, all right, I'll do it. They'll remember that for sure. You know?
Well, so you've been in Vegas for a while. So tell me more about, you know, for being this long this year, the changes that you have seen and the culture, like, what are your thoughts? I mean, being born and raised.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what are your thoughts about Las Vegas now? It's like I know just being here 17 years, it feels like a completely different city. But I imagine from your eyes, it's.
Yeah. I mean, obvious answer is like we're like a sports city now.
Yeah.
That's definitely like the biggest change. Outside of that, I don't know, like I really just try to stay in my bubble. I used to work at Wynn Las Vegas on the Strip, so I would see like just like what the market is like looking for in terms of like hospitality, and sports is at the forefront, and then also food.
Yeah.
I think our food culture here is really blowing up with
Are you a foodie?
I'm a huge foodie.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
cool.
I'm a self-proclaimed foodie, and I guess that just means I like to eat different things. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I would say outside of the sports, definitely like the restaurants and everything that we have food-wise out here has definitely blown up, and it's actually probably kept me here, to be honest with you.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, I love to eat.
So give me like your top restaurants.
Top restaurants?
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
First one's top of your head. I'm not a foodie.
Oh.
So
okay.
I need the info. I have a lot of foodie friends though, so I'm always like curious.
If I had a friend that came from out of town, and I would take him to one spot for one dish, it'd probably be Oyster Bar at Palace Station for the pan roast.
Oh.
Yeah, pan roast. You don't even have to like seafood like that, but the pan roast is just like, I don't know. That's what I would take him to try. And then when it comes to dessert, Sorry Not Sorry ice cream is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not like I don't really like ice cream like that. It hurts my teeth, but when I do get ice cream, it's gonna be from there.
Interesting.
But yeah, I could go on and on with like different types of food
I'm gonna get a list because I need these. So
yeah.
So you also served in the Air Force. Thank you for your service.
Of course.
Can we hear a little bit more, about your experience? You were telling me before the pod, but if you feel comfortable sharing that.
Yeah, no worries. Of course, it was a huge part of my life, like I mentioned earlier. So I joined the Air Force Reserves over here in Vegas. So I was basically working out of Nellis Air Force Base. Once a month, I would go down there, and then like out of the whole year, we would have like a 2-week training to where we would like go somewhere or maybe just stay on base. So it was more so like part-time. I did have one deployment over to Afghanistan during my time there, and it was one of those things that like I'm happy I did it, but I'm also happy that I'm like out.
Yeah.
I made some really good like friendships there. That brotherhood thing is real. It's a real thing, and that's probably one of the most valuable things I would take from going there is the relationships that I made over there, and then also like the discipline that they kind of like instilled in you.
Interesting.
Being in there, and the main reason why I joined was pretty much I was a 24-year-old kid. I didn't really know what I was. I thought I wanted to work in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
Then I figured out that restaurant business wasn't just for me. You had to have some type of level of craziness to want to do that full time. And I was just like, let me try this Air Force thing. So I joined up. Became a electrical journeyman.
Okay.
Because I thought that skill could kind of translate into the civilian world.
Yeah.
Learned that I didn't like electrical like that, so got out and just kind of went all in on video. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So you said you learned discipline. Was there any other tools that kind of helped you with going to?
Yeah. I think just learning how to. There's like a term in the military. It's called embrace the suck.
Okay.
So it's like when the times that you go through like just like crappy moments, where it just feels like what the heck, you have to embrace it, because that's the only way you're gonna get through it. Because if you just are in a situation where you're just angry or dreading it or are just like in a bad spot, like what's it gonna help being in that same bad spot mentally, So you really have to like almost trick yourself into finding the silver outlining it, because otherwise you're just gonna be miserable, And there was a lot of suck in, a lot of like crappy moments in the military. So it's just like, how do you deal with it, So, and I think that translated into the civilian world with, with work and just dealing with different people, situations. It's just like, okay, this sucks, but how are we gonna make it better, right? How can we look at it? Because it's like made me feel good just being, you know, in a crappy mood. It's not gonna be good for anybody, right?
Yeah.
So you really had to like figure out a way to just make it better for everybody and for yourself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I've ever got out of this podcast, the number one lesson I've learned from my guest is either they were a former athlete or military.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly what you just said is going through the discipline of keep doing it every day, embracing the suck or whatever term they would use too, right?
Yeah.
I played football, so being
okay.
consistent and
Nice.
you know, getting the crap kicked out of you every single day and still show up the next day. Because I agree with you, because I feel like once you're, especially running a business, you get 20 years later, I still get beat up.
Oh yeah.
You know, the market's up, down, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like you continue to show up, because if you don't, like I truly believe is like the universe is going to keep bringing those lessons, and if you realize how to grow through them, or you know, they're just going to keep popping up.
100%.
You know,
yeah, and
so.
I think your last guest said this, but you know, it's never a loss; it's always a lesson. And
Yes.
once you realize that, like, you'll be okay, because you won't feel like a failure. You know,
Right.
if you really feel like that. When something like, you know, gets you on the ground or something you don't expect, and then you're like, dang, like I didn't get that job, or I didn't, you know, this relationship didn't work out. Like, instead of like thinking of it as negative, like really, like it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
But really trying to figure out, you know, what could you have learned from that, so that way you don't feel like that again, you know. And I feel like that's the best way to kind of learn is through like experience.
Absolutely. I think it's like you said too, it's like the silver lining in painting. It's like, what story are you telling yourself? You
Yep.
know, are you a victim, or like you said, am I learning, or what's the win, whatever it is. But it's, you gotta like, sometimes you gotta trick yourself.
Oh yeah, you gotta,
like,
yeah, you have to.
This doesn't make any sense, but I gotta keep, you know, keep growing or learning or moving forward. So.
Yeah, and eventually you'll get over it. You know, you'll like, you actually
Time does
learn.
heal.
Yeah,
For sure.
So,
Well, good advice. I got 3 more minutes with you. So
Okay.
besides all that, so what does Mark do when he's not doing videos? I mean, what do you do for fun?
for fun, okay, 2 things: pickleball and DJing. Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
What?
I love to DJ.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I do it for, you know, for fun. Whenever people invite me to their house parties to DJ for it.
You'll be invited to my house party.
Let me know. let me know. I will happily DJ.
Okay. I don't have a big house, so it's gonna be a tight party. But.
That's fine. It'll be a party. Yeah. So yeah, just like another outlet, creative outlet, you know, because I enjoy doing video and editing so much that I really had to take myself out from doing it when I'm not working.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't want to lose that creative, you know, that burnout. I don't want to burn out from video. So I was like, oh, what's the next thing? I love music, and so DJing was just like a natural, you know, transition, or you know, compliment.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And you enjoy pickleball. Do you do like tournaments? Or you...
No, I'm not that good. No, I'm not that good. No.
You look athletic though. I don't know.
No, I'm not that good.
No?
I just play for fun.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
Then I'll
just-
play with you then.
Yeah, let's play. Let's play.
I don't play.
Yeah, it's a good sport to where, you know, because I used to play basketball for fun, and I feel like it's less dangerous.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm young, but I'm not like getting younger, so
No, I hear you.
I have to figure out ways to.
Well, I used to play all the sports back in the day,
Okay.
and then I think I was like late 20s, early 30s, and I played basketball, like pickup. And
Okay.
I'm like, I used to be a really good athlete back in the day,
Yeah.
and I went on the court with some youngins, and I'm like,
That's when you realize.
Yeah?
Yeah.
and then like I was certain for like a week, and this is like my early 30s, right? And I'm 43 now. I'm like, I'm not doing that, because my brother would play basketball,
Yeah.
my cousin I'm close to, and they were always injured.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I'm like, this doesn't really make a lot of sense anymore.
Yeah,
But
can't afford to be injured.
No,
Yeah,
no.
it's gonna happen, but it might happen. But you know, like whatever I can do to minimize it. I'll shoot around sometimes. You know, I'll try to play, but
I couldn't shoot for anything.
No.
I was good at defense, rebounding.
there you go. Hey,
Blocks.
underrated, underrated skill.
That's
you need
what I'm
that.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you went to EDC this year. How was that?
Oh, it was. If you never been, have you been to EDC?
No, I haven't.
No, are you into that? Okay, it's
It's like kind of a.
it's overwhelming.
It seems like it.
Very overwhelming. Yeah, but once you get past the overwhelm, it's the best time you could have if you're into the
Really?
that kind of scene.
It's not like just one song for like 12 hours straight.
That's what I thought. So funny story is, I know we got like short on time, but
Yeah.
I did security for EDC back when I was in the military, and that's literally what I thought it was, just one song the whole time. I was like, what is this,
Yeah.
And then I got into the scene, and now I get it. So
Now I get it. Okay.
yeah, but
My wife's into that music, but someday I'll get it. But
one day I'll get you. Yeah, I'll send you some mixes.
all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Hey, thank you for being on. If you guys are looking to do some video of your agent out there, hit this man up. Mark, appreciate you. Guys, we're running Vegas. Take care of yourselves today.